Hey doing everyone, welcome back. Well, you know, my wife showed me something a little bit ago that, okay, it was debunked, but it's still funny, right? As you know, the Trump regime has an issue with Harvard University, right? They don't like Harvard. They think that Harvard is, I don't know, some kind of an enemy or something like that. Well, somebody posted on Reddit a letter sent by Linda McMahon, yes, the wife of Vince McMahon, the president of what was the WWF when I was a kid. Now it's the WWE or whatever. Anyway, that's her whole claim to fame, is being married to the guy who runs professional wrestling, and that's really all she's known for, except that she is now the Secretary of Education. Why? Who knows? But what makes this funny, what I saw on Reddit, again, my wife sent it to me. She told me to verify it to make for sure, because she had not verified it before sending it to me. And a lot of times she will, but sometimes not. She didn't verify it, but it's still funny, even though it's not true. Allegedly, someone at Harvard took out a red pen. Remember when you were in school and the teacher would take out a red pen on your essay or whatever and mark up everything that, maybe you used the incorrect punctuation, maybe you capitalized a letter that doesn't need to be capitalized, didn't capitalize something that should have been, you wrote something that didn't make sense, you began a sentence with a conjunction or ended a sentence with a preposition, or, yeah. I can't even verify that Linda McMahon wrote the initial letter, right? Can't verify that. It does look like something that would come from someone within the Trump regime, because it looks like, basically it looks like a well-written version of one of his social media posts with random capitalization and random uses of quotation marks where they don't make sense. And, so it looks like one of those posts, except it's a full letter. And again, I cannot verify that Linda McMahon wrote the letter, or anybody in her office or within the Department of Education, right? Can't verify that it's an actual letter that was sent. What I do know is that it was not Harvard. It was not anybody at Harvard that did this, right? Somebody took this letter that may or may not have been written by Linda McMahon or someone in her department, and they, like I said, when you were in school, the teacher took out the red pen and corrected all this stuff and asked, what are you trying to say here, or why are you using words that don't belong here? Why are you using a run-on sentence? Marked it up in red pen. And allegedly sent it back to Linda McMahon. Now, it was not somebody at Harvard who did this. I cannot verify that Linda McMahon actually wrote the letter, or anybody within the Department of Education. cannot verify that. And if it wasn't anybody at Harvard who did this, then I don't know who would have, because who else would have received it, right? But I just found it amusing that Department of Education writes this absolutely terrible letter, but again, can't verify it. However, like I said, it looks like something that would come out of this regime, not an administration, it's a regime. And, basically criticizing Harvard, wanting to know how certain students get in and how not only they get into the university, but even into our country. Well, how they get into our country isn't really a Harvard thing, is it? That's a government thing, isn't it? Wouldn't you think? I don't know. How do they get into Harvard? They have their admission standards, whatever they are, and I know that I personally would not get into Harvard. That's not to say that I'm not a smart guy, but I am not Harvard smart. So, if you get a chance to find, and if you find this letter, if I find it again, I'm going to link it into the description below, because it is, like I said, it's funny. It's on Reddit. Like I said, can't verify that anybody at DOE wrote it. We can verify that Harvard did not make the red pen corrections. So, I'm going to find that. I'm going to find that again. I'm going to post a link in the description, and hopefully you'll check that out, because that's pretty funny. And I hope you find it as funny as I did, because even with it not, let's just assume that none of it is true, we could all still use a good laugh. And it's something that, in the state of affairs in this country today, it very well could be true. But we're going to assume that it is not, since I'm not able to verify it. So, anyway, go ahead and check that out. Like I said, link in the description below, and I will catch you later.